Hello, Dr. Castleberry here. And if you can already tell from the tone of my voice, I'm here with some bad news and some relatively good news, at least in terms of minor relief. Okay, and so let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. Let's get into that bad news. And sometimes you got to roll with the punches. We had a unique setup for our week 4 interview. And as you all know, we brought in Jamison Kiefover. She's actually on campus with us, drove in from her current job in Tulsa to join us in OKC, where she'll soon be living. And we had her into the physical class where she shared with our group of students. We actually have kind of tandem courses running right now. A first, a truly unique first, to have this course kind of running like this, where one was happening online and the other was happening on ground at the same time. And we just had these weeks, a few weeks here where there was a glorious overlap. And so she shared with the class. We had someone that had to be out of pocket, so attended via Zoom, and another party that was out due to student athlete travel, and so they had recorded their videos like you all do each week and submitted it. So we worked with technology. However, at the last minute, our classroom computer went down. We had to shift to a conference room. Fortunately, it's a very beautiful conference space, but cameras are pretty old, right? So the footage it's almost like a surveillance cam, right? And low angles are always bad, but nonetheless, we had a rich conversation. We had a rich discussion, and I wondered, in fact, how much that discussion would repeat itself when we eventually recorded the interview that you all helped us produce. And so when that class concluded, we transitioned over to Office Studio, where we had a trial setup. Okay, so we do a lot of dual recordings. We do all kinds of things in here. We're lecture casts and stuff. There's equipment we're able to use, but we've never run a dual Zoom in this office. And so out of concern for the kind of echoed effect that would create, we ran both mics off of a laptop, and then logged in to Zoom a second time via the work desktop in here. And then to kind of account for those potential noises, we muted the desktop Zoom through the entirety and used the dual mics, which of course we sound checked, right? And they were working fine and did great in the sound checks. What I think happened, I know you know where this is going now, is something in the process of logging into the second Zoom through the same account. Somehow a pop-up did not pop up on the monitor that I wasn't looking into, and that's not at all our guest's fault, who is also tech savvy. But the pop-up was behind the Zoom window, so ineffective. But we didn't see it until the end of our session, which was phenomenal, was incredible. I've got screenshots. I'm going to share some. I have to prove that this took place. But as we're clearly creeping toward this tragic conclusion, there is no audio on that interview. It simply doesn't exist, and so unfortunately, I had an immediate event that I had to get to. She also, where there was a very key window we had to connect, and by the time I returned and checked the file, the itch was already in the back of my mind that noticing that pop-up window when I closed out that Zoom, it started a countdown in my head that I knew something was off, and sure enough. Without the audio, of course, there's no interview to listen to. However, having been present in both interviews and having screened both sets of questions for this guest, Only the second time we've had a crossover guest, by the way. This is not the case in early weeks for either class, but the conversation points, like some of the information that she shared, or in fact a lot of it, did have crossover appeal. There was a generalization to the interview where she was sharing information, I think, to both camps, that essentially answer maybe many of our questions, maybe not our primary question, maybe not your primary video question in the same way that she answered it in person. Those archives now lost to time, but the information's still good, right? And we still get some strong takes, and we still hear her story in her own words through that other interview. So that is the quote unquote relief, good news that I have here. That while our production had a technical flaw that led to some dropped content, we do have this alternative interview that I want to turn over to you, give you that chance to listen to it, kind of be that observer. Hey, participant observation is an important qualitative research method. And while we're trying to be ethnographers in this class, that is to say active field participants through our research, through our questions, in this instance, you're kind of more, you'll just operate in observer mode. But what I do think you'll find is that these questions are either almost like parallel universe versions of the questions that you were asking. It's just funny to compare and contrast maybe questions that are happening from different types of students, right? So I'm going to have that video loaded for you below. Apologies on the accidental issues we encountered, but it's going to be a great learning lesson so that we can remedy that in the future and ensure that we're able to not learn from this technicality. So I appreciate you all, and you can utilize this recording as your fourth interview, and then commence with the writing of the interview analysis paper, because our fifth and final speaker, it looks like they will not be able to join us until Tuesday morning, which would technically be the day after the course ends. So go ahead with these 4 interviews for your synthesis paper, and that's going to satisfy our needs here in this course. All right, you all, thank you. Sorry again, but I'm at least partially relieved that we had this backup interview for you to listen to. Thanks.